As a podcaster, how do you leverage paid ads for social media growth? That's what we're covering in today's episode with my guest, Megan Shields. This is our last part of our 4-part series where we've covered her trifecta strategy across 4 different episodes, bringing you all you need to know about paid ads. Now, before we get into all of the content with Megan, I am going to share with you that today's episode is brought to you by my membership, which is called Podcast Success Vault. And it's brought to you by my agency, Volt Productions, which has just gone through a massive rebrand and I'm so excited about. This monthly membership is your ultimate guide for starting, growing, and monetizing your show. I keep hearing from many creators just like you in the industry that this membership fills the biggest gap that they were looking for. It gives you access to all kinds of resources, templates like show notes templates, analytics trackers, media kit examples, social media templates, production schedule templates that you can just literally go and copy and plug and play. I have made this membership filled with resources that you can literally just bring into your process right away and not have to worry about the overwhelm that you feel when it comes to accessing these different pieces. The goal with my membership is really for you to take the overwhelm out of the tech. Take the struggle out of growing your audience and take the challenges out of launching your show and making money out of it. I want you to say goodbye to confusion. I want you to say goodbye to piecing all of these different resources that you can Google online together. And I want you to say hello to the confidence that you're going to feel when you are able to tap into the creator part in you by being in our All Access membership. By joining Podcast Success Vault, you are going to unlock all of these comprehensive resources, plug and play templates like I mentioned, and expert guidance from myself, as well as access to a private community of creators just like you who are looking to also make an impact with their voice and their show and grow it in a really significant way. So you can access all of the information about Podcast Success Vault at the link in the notes below. And I want you to know that there are 2 options. There's a monthly plan and an annual plan. When you join the annual plan, you do get a few bonuses, which you can check out at the link below. And the cost of the membership is $27 a month for March, April, and May. This is my intro price, my bonus price. After that, the price will go up. So be sure to check everything out at the link below. And I cannot wait for you to be in there and to see you in there. Okay, back to today's episode with Megan. We are covering all things social media and leveraging paid ads to grow your reach on social media, which ultimately grows your impact with your podcast and all of the beautiful content that you are sharing every single week. So Megan is a paid ads expert and she works primarily with podcasters. Let's get into our conversation today with Megan. Welcome back to As It Relates to Podcasting. You are here with me for this 4th episode of our 4-part series, which I am so excited to dive into because it's the last piece of your trifecta when it comes to your strategy for podcast growth with leveraging paid ads, which I think is super cool. Today, we are talking about social media growth. And I like that this is our last one. I think that it's a cool way to end.
Yeah, thank you. I'm super pumped to finish off this series. We've talked about so much great stuff. And so, yes, thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. So when it comes to the social media growth portion of this, where do you begin? And I almost want to say why social media? But I do know why social media. But yeah. I also want to add this in really quick. When you think of social media and you think about the other different strategies that we talked about over the last few episodes, it's like you almost don't even need to be on social media, but you still should for brand recognition. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would highly recommend being on social media. I've yet to work with someone that's not, but
you do need a presence for other opportunities and for other things and for growth. You do need a presence, but social media in general does not equal more podcast downloads necessarily.
No, right. Correct. So going back to the whole holistic view of all of these things working together, the cool thing about the social growth component is we're literally taking content that you're already creating and turning it into ads. So we talked a little bit about how you've been seeing some more organic looking pieces of content that are coming, that are ads. And that's a lot of what we do. So we really build a strategic ad funnel using your content to get in front of new targeted people and then nurture them and keep your content in front of them. Because the hardest thing that podcasters have is like they post about their show, but like organic reach is down for everybody. Like everyone's having such a hard time getting seen, getting engagement, even with your own followers. It's like 1%. So even if you have 10,000 followers, like 100, less than 100 people are going to see you. And so that's super challenging. And so what we're doing with this component of this strategy is really force feeding our followers and new people our content, because it's just not getting seen. And so we're doing it in a strategic way of not only bringing in new people that are our ideal clients or ideal listeners or ideal people that we want to be in front of, and then nurturing them with more of our content on the back end, that once they engage with us, now they're going to start to see and experience us in a lot of different ways via our content.
So you're keeping it in like the native app, you mean? So you're not taking them out of the platform and putting them on your email list or something like that, or your podcast, but you're keeping them back in. What type of ad is that? Like what type of ad are you running for that? Is it like a boost post type of thing?
No, so it's an
You're like,
engagement
please
campaign.
no.
Yes.
Please don't.
Yeah, no. So there's, one piece of it is an engagement campaign and one piece of it is a reach campaign. So there's a couple different things going on at the same time, but strategically put together are building this audience for you. And what we tend to see with this is an increase in followers. And also it's an opportunity now that because all these actions and things are happening on the platform, you're building an audience that you can retarget. Mm-hmm. If you are promoting whatever, a summit, a challenge, a product, a service, now you're like, okay, well, I want all the people that have engaged with me in the last 6 months, and all of these people are going to be in that audience. So they're warmed up, and it's super, super valuable and really cheap to do.
Love that. I think that's super cool. Okay. So where does someone begin with this? Like, how do you start to decide which content you should be putting out there if you're not getting any much reach to begin with?
Totally. So it all goes back to, again, thinking about like the flow of how people interact with you and like how our, like the psychology of how we work as people, right? So a lot of times what we'll start with is content that's very introductory. We're not going to use content that's like join my boot camp or like buy my course or whatever it is, because it's going to a cold audience of people that have never seen you before. So they're going to be like, whatever, I'm moving on. I don't know what this is. So very introductory, talking about yourself. Again, we'll use a lot of reels that people do. A lot of people have intro reels, things like that they've created. Video, again, does really, really well in this piece. And it's also a really great way to have a more intimate experience with the people that are, engaging with you. But the first step is always kind of the introductory stuff. Like, who are you? What's your vibe? Like, what are you about? Not like, I'm a business owner and I sell vending machines or whatever it is. I don't know why vending machines came to mind. Like,
well, I just feel like we're due for a snack. I just think we're due for a snack.
I know, right? But yeah, so introductory, and then it's really like nurturing. The second half of that is just nurture content. So more about you, like more about how you help people. And again, I'm talking from a business owner lens. Your clients' experiences with you, how they can take the next step with you, like, kind of behind the scenes stuff with you, like multiple pieces of content that are hitting different angles of like, why should I give a shit about who this person is and what's in it for me? What's it going to do for me? And it always goes back to that. So it's that sort of funnel from a psychological standpoint of content that we tend to create, but also look for.
Okay. That's really interesting. And then, so what's the link between having this presence on social media and how that impacts your podcast overall and like just everything that you're creating within your business?
Yeah, I mean, so everything kind of works together, right? Like you've got the social media growth and you're building your audience there. You've got your podcast, you're building your audience there. You've got your email list, you're building your audience there. And what it really comes down to is our attention spans are terrible. People need to see you multiple times. I saw like yesterday, someone said 72 times. I'm like, this is getting out of control. Like, I mean, whatever. People need to see you a lot. They need to hear your message a lot, but people also resonate with different mediums a lot. Like some people like video, some people like email, some people like audio and podcasts. Like you want to have different ways for people to interact with you and also different ways for people to see you and hear you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where this whole trifecta strategy becomes really powerful because you're doing that. So the people that are on your email list most likely are going to go follow you. And so now they're going to start seeing more of your content. And then, you might push your freebie and they'll enroll in that, or maybe they'll enroll it from the ad. And now they're hearing about your podcast, and like it all works together. And there's really like two ways to list build. So there's the get my freebie, join my email list, and I have my physical list. But there's also a component that we ad managers like that is invisible list building. And that is your list on the platforms of people that are engaging with you. Because when people are engaging with you or watching your videos or engaging with your content, all of that data is available for up to a year, where pixel data is only available for 180 days. So you can make an audience of like, let's say you're doing a launch and you have a product, or you're doing a big ass event and you're like, I want everybody that's engaged with me in the last year to like see this ad that I'm running for this event. And you can do that. And it's really powerful. So you'll hit people there, but also your email list. So it's all of these things that work together so people can hear your message and interact with you in a lot of different ways.
I love that. Now, someone might be sitting here right now and like listening to this and saying, this is a lot of content to create, right? How do you start to streamline all three of these different pieces? Because they are all really big pieces. Is there a place that you recommend starting first?
From a trifecta ad strategy standpoint?
Yeah. Like if you could only do one.
I would say start with what you got. So if you have a freebie that works well on an email list, you can start there. If you already have a podcast, and we all know how much work that is, so you can start there. And if you are present on social media, you can start there. So I would say start with what you got, but also, your budget. Like the social media piece, we literally, we run those ads for like $1 a day, a lot of them. So they can be really cost effective. And same thing with the podcast ads, like $5 a day. So you can start with those two. So I always just recommend people to start with what you have, and then you can always add on. If you're like, okay, I'm going to start with the podcast component, and then I'm going to work on a freebie, and then I'm going to launch that freebie next month, then you can start that and start running ads to that if you want to.
I love that. So if you were looking to start with either, I would say with the whole trifecta overall, are you looking at about $700, let's say $800 a month in ad spend? Like, is that like a good budget to give yourself to begin?
Yeah, so I would say it's generally, so like we have a course where we teach this, and the budget that we always recommend for people that are coming in is anywhere from $10 to $20 a day. Okay. So it can be on the low end of like $300 a month to $600 a month and beyond.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you're looking at about $1,000, let's say, if you want to run all three of these at the lowest amount of $10, if you wanted to leverage all three of these different strategies, right?
No, $10 for all of it. So $300 for the whole. Yeah. The whole thing. Not per campaign.
This is interesting to me because everyone always says it's so like, you have to run a minimum of $20 a day, or you have to do this, this, and this. And it's like, it makes paid ads feel very inaccessible to people, and that it's not going to work unless you put in, thousands of dollars every single month. And especially if you don't know what you're doing, to burn through thousands of dollars like that makes people like, I don't want to do this, right? Yeah. What's the purpose of doing this? But I like what you're saying here, that it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah. And that's, generally when people are talking like that, it's like specifically to like the sales campaigns. And those are the ones that like cost a lot of money, but you don't have to run those all the time to have impact. I mean, this obviously this whole trifecta ad strategy doesn't have anything to do with the sales campaign, which is why we can leverage it in an inexpensive way. But that's also why I'm doing this podcast series and why I speak to people and why we started this course, because Facebook ads do seem inaccessible. And, the gurus are like, making it way more complicated than it needs to be. And then there's the fear, around the whole thing. And it's just, it doesn't have to be that way. They can be really impactful without spending a lot of money. And we're just trying to tell more people about it.
I love that. You're just trying to show a different way. And
Show a
that's
different
good.
way.
I
Don't be
think that's
scared.
really good because especially entrepreneurs, creators, whatever, it's not like, honestly, most of the time, it's not like they have a huge budget, a huge ad spend, not, especially too, if you have a producer that you're working with for your podcast and you have a
Right.
social media manager that's helping you with creative, or you have someone writing your newsletters for you, right? To know that it's not an additional $1,500 every single month just to get in front of a new audience. I think that's really key. And I think too, there are really key people in each industry that it's easy. You see their face and you're like, yeah, I'll buy your product because I trust you, right?
Right.
But it's like now with the amount of content that people are putting out, everyone is fighting for that market share, that piece in the market. How are you taking what you're creating and standing out in a significant way so that people start to recognize you as that credible source and the person that they trust to do whatever, whatever type of course, whatever type of program. I think it's really important.
Yeah, especially because a lot of the people that we work with are service providers, and we are obviously service providers ourselves.
Right.
And like, there's a lot of noise in the online space, and people, are much more discerning about where they're still spending money, but with inflation and the cost of friggin' milk and butter and all that kind of stuff, like people are still spending money. They're still investing in themselves and their business and services, but they're being more discerning. The
Absolutely.
buying cycle is a little bit longer for a lot of people, and that's where this strategy becomes super powerful because you're staying top of mind. And it's a cumulative effect of like marketing. And I read this quote somewhere, a million years ago, it seems like, and I always use it, but I don't know who the hell said it. But it's like marketing is not about making people buy, but it's about being the person they think of when they're ready to buy. And that's the whole thing. It's like staying top of mind, especially service providers. And we're trying to stand out because what's the difference between working with me versus somebody else? If we both do Facebook ads, like my message is different because, hey, I work with podcasters and that's my jam. And maybe that's for you. And maybe it's not. Both is important. But staying top of mind and being in front of people consistently just has that huge, huge compound effect.
I love that. Megan, is there anything else that you would add when it comes to this portion, this piece of the trifecta?
I don't think so.
I
I think you
know. I
asked a
feel
lot of
like
really good questions and we
I
really
know.
dove into it quite a bit. But I think the good thing about it, I guess one little thing I will add is like, it's really just repurposing your own content. So it's not, anything extra that you have to do. And that's pretty much it.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining me on this 4-part series. I'm very grateful for you,
Thank you
for
so
your
much for
time.
having me.
Oh my gosh, anytime. Thank you so, so, so much. And plug your freebie for me one more time.
Okay, so my freebie is the 3 ways that you can grow your podcast using Facebook ads without breaking the bank. And you can get that at chimehousemedia.com/grow.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode on As It Relates to Podcasting. Check out the links in the show notes below. All of Megan's links are there, and be sure to grab her freebies so you don't miss out. My links to my freebies are also down there too, and be sure to connect with both of us on social media. Let us know if you have any questions about what we covered today, and until then, I will see you on the next one.